Hi guys, welcome back for another fight card prediction. We're going to be breaking down UFC Fight Night 90, Dos Anjos versus Alvarez on the start of International Fight Week here. 3 cards within inside 3 days, a lot of fights to look through, a lot of fights to have, fighters to evaluate. So I'm going to get into this straight away. As always, please follow the guys down below me. Podcasts, some of the best interviewees out there. Dan Levy, keep an eye on his. He's going to have a great 200 show with Robin Black and Sean Carey, so please go and check out him. Flying Brian, always a guy I support, as well as Rockstar Z, UFC Betting Sharks on Facebook, and now on Twitter. Go follow those guys. We're always talking about fights. Podcast Severe MMA, Talking Brawls MMA, and the Part and Shod podcast. And you can follow me on Twitter, WillMartin7MMA. So make sure you put those comments down below. Let me know your picks for the card and how you see things going. So this card, a great start to the week. You will find it on Fight Pass. If you don't have Fight Pass already, you really should, because I literally spend hours on my day on there watching fights, and especially since the upgrade, it looks phenomenal and a lot easier to kind of get yourself around. We're going to start off in the welterweight division where Vicente Luque against Alvaro Herrera. I see this as a squash match. This is an easy fight for Vicente Luque. I think he's just a better fighter overall. I think he's the more athletic, he's the speedier guy. Herrera's coming off that win over, I think it was Vernon Ramos. He trains out of, I think he's actually been at Jackson Winklejohn's. I've seen some posts there, actually training with Vernon Ramos as well. But I don't see where he's going to really hurt Vicente Luque here. I think on the show, Luque was a little bit up and down, and he's shown, I think in a few years this guy could be a legit prospect, possibly in the welterweight division. He's still a really young guy. He's been around a long time. He's fought some good guys. I mean, he fought Thiago Santos back in the day, the middleweight, and actually beat him and stopped him as well. I know it was a few years ago. I like Luque in this one. I think his ground game's a little bit better. I actually just think he's better everywhere, and he's one of my most confident picks, I think, on the night. So Vicente Luque, I think, by submission in round number 2. Next up, we have Marco Beltran against Reginaldo Vieira. Vieira's coming off that unanimous decision victory over Dileno Lopes, where Lopes kind of just gassed himself out trying for submissions, trying to finish the fight, and Vieira was just a little bit smarter, a little bit crisper, a little bit faster, better speed, better footwork, just better choice of shots, and he accumulated those points to win that fight. Beltran, not the greatest fight in the world. I think the biggest thing going in his corner is he trains out of Alliance right now, and that'll be booming with the recent wins. I mean, I think he cornered Polo Reyes at UFC 199 in that great fight with Dong Young Kim. Obviously, Dominic Cruz is back, which has got to lift that gym. Of course, there was Jeremy Stevens who beat Henan Barao. So the camp will be very, very upbeat at the minute, and that's probably the only thing in his on his side for this one, because I think he's one of the low talented fighters in the roster. I think all he's got is being scrappy, and he's improving, but it's not like leaps and bounds like you've seen some of the other guys come off the other shows. And I just don't think that this fight's going to be close. I think it's going to go to decision, but I think Vieira, I think he's got the more submissions. If he gets it to the ground, he has a chance to finish the fight there. But I like Vieira in this one. I think it's going to be scrappy. I think it's going to be close. I don't think it'll be a great fight. I'm going to edge Vieira in that one, but not by much. Lightweight division with Gilbert Burns against Lukasz Sajewski. I've been going back and forth in this one a lot. I was quite high in Gilbert Burns, but I went back and watched his fights in the UFC, and really, I don't know why I was so high. I think it was just coming in under kind of Vitor Belfort, the Jiu-Jitsu, obviously the World Championships and that. But since he's come in, he's not really been great, and he lost his first fight in his MMA career there when he lost to Rashid Magomedov. Magomedov is one of the dark horses in that division by far, and just kind of got outclassed. But hopefully he's going to come back from this and learn what it takes to go up to that kind of upper echelon of the fighters in the lightweight division, because it's a shark tank in that division. Before that, he beat Christos Giagos, then he beat Alex Oliveira. I thought that fight he was clearly losing. He was, he did not look good in that fight, but what he did show was a huge heart, determination. He decided, I'm going to get this fight to the ground, where I am probably one of the most strongest guys you will see in the UFC. in the world maybe, and he finished that fight. Now that takes a lot of doing. That means the guy's he's got that kind of heart to kind of keep going, the determination to keep going, and that's something you can't take, and you can't rule out in a fight either. He could be down 2 rounds and he's pulled it out in the 3rd round, and he can do that anytime. If you do it once, you've got the confidence to go ahead and do it again. Sajewski is a guy I know very well from the European scene here. Tough UFC debut. I mean, Nick Hine is a tough out for anybody, because Hine's just kind of overall a good fighter. I was going to pick Lukasz Sajewski, but I'm kind of flip-flopping with the pick. But I'm going to go with Gilbert Burns. I think having that loss, hopefully it's kind of lit a fire under his ass that he's going to improve his striking, improve just his overall game. Jiu-jitsu game's there. If he can get this fight to the ground, I think he finishes it. But I think he's got enough in the feet to kind of trouble Sajewski as well. So I'm going to go Gilbert Burns via decision. But it wouldn't surprise me at all if Lukasz Sajewski got the decision here. I was very close to taking him, but I went with I think the better pick overall. Next up, Felipe Arantes against Jerrod Sanders. Jerrod Sanders impressed me when I last seen him fight in Vegas last summer when he beat Russell Doane. I thought I met Doane outside the arena and he was very confident. His team were very confident. He didn't turn up for that one. And Sanders' really good wrestling kind of came through in that fight. Doane, he has to kind of respond with a better performance because it was a dog shit performance. It was not a great performance at all. But I like him in this fight. I think Sanders did impress me in that fight, but I want to talk about Arantes here. Sanders did impress me in that fight there, but he needs to really, I think he has to up his level for this one here for Felipe Arantes. And Arantes he's fought some good guys in the UFC. He's lost close fights. I mean, Andre Fili was a close fight down in Brazil. And before that, he beat Blanco. Blanco's a tough guy. He's unorthodox. He's all over the place. Beat Jouban at the event in Saskatoon last year. So he's fought good guys. He's overall a pretty solid fighter. I just think that if he can stop the takedowns early, that will get into the head of Sanders, because that's what Sanders did in Vegas last year. Is he got the takedown early and Doane gave him the confidence to keep going. My pick will be Felipe Arantes via decision. Next up, Russell Doane, who I was just talking about, against Pedro Munhoz. I think it's a great fight, a really, really good fight. As I was saying, Doane was very confident before that fight. His team were very confident, and he just looked like dog shit. He looked horrible. He was getting pelters from the crowd for his. It just looked like he didn't train his takedown defense, which is Sanders' biggest overall kind of positive part of his game. And before that, he lost to Alcantara, who's a tough out in that division. Beat Marcus Brimage, beat Leandro Issa. So he's a guy that I think can do well in that division, but he really needs to kind of show it now. Pedro Munhoz coming off that loss to Jimmy Rivera down in Brazil. And before that, there was the no contest. I believe he tested positive for something down there, if I remember right. I was very high in Pedro Munhoz. Came into the UFC with Rafael Assunção as his first opponent. That's a tough out for anybody. I've been going back and forward in this one as well. There's a really good match, mate. Sean Shelby and Joe Silva did well with this matchup. How do I see it going? I think if you go on the feet, I think overall Munhoz is the better fighter, but I actually think that Russell Doane has more heart and more fire. But I mean, he's coming off. He hasn't really won a fight in a few years. His last one was Matt Hober via TKO with a devastating finish, to be fair. Then there was Sanders, and then there was Doane. It's the tough one to pick, but I think I'm going to go Pedro Munhoz. But I see it's been a very close split decision. Not confident in that pick in the slightest. So I'm going to go Pedro Munhoz, but I think that fight can go to anybody. I think the early round, the first kind of round, is going to be pivotal to see who wins that fight. But I'm going to pick Pedro Munhoz. Next up, bantamweight division. Looking forward to seeing this guy, Anthony Birchak against Dileno Lopes. Birchak, I am a fan of this guy. I have been for a while since he was up in the MFC. Came into the UFC, had some kind of trouble there with supposed to fight 177, then his fight got pulled, and then he had some bad luck, and then there was a fight with Entwistle where Entwistle's a one-trick pony who If he catches in that, you probably don't get out, and he didn't. Then there was Joe Soto. He absolutely destroyed Joe Soto in that fight. And then there was the fight with Thomas Almeida, who is, I think his game plan was he kind of struck a little bit too much. I thought he could get at Almeida early, which is probably the best thing to do in that, is to get at him. But then he got savagely knocked out. Dileno Lopes, as I said, he lost to Reginaldo Vieira. Jiu-jitsu guy, fairly decent on the feet, nothing to kind of write home about, but he is very good once he gets to the ground. I don't think Birchak lets him get it to the ground. I think he clinches him up and he kind of beats up the body with some strikes there and some knees. I can see potentially Birchak taking Lopes out here. He's got the crisper striking. I'm going to go Anthony Birchak via TKO in the end of round number 1. So yeah, that's my pick for that. Lightweight division, John Makdessi against Mehdi Baghdad. I've been going a little bit back and forth on this one. I don't know why, because Baghdad is not a guy that... I don't think he's an overly good fighter, to be honest with you. I don't know why. I've been thinking that he's got a chance. Just thinking Makdessi's maybe on his way out. There was a talk of retirement after he lost to Cerrone, after he got his jaw broken. And then there was the Yancy Medeiros fight, which I did think he lost. It was a very close fight. Baghdad came off the Ultimate Fighter. He faced Chris Wade back in Boston and just got taken down. And I think anybody that can take Baghdad down is going to really win the fight fairly easily. Chris Wade did that. I think maybe the reason I'm thinking about Baghdad is the fact that this fight's probably predominantly going to stay on the feet. Makdessi's got that Shokotan karate background. Baghdad I think he's a world champion Muay Thai practitioner. That's probably what I'm thinking, but I'm going to have to go with the experience here. I don't feel overly... I think Baghdad has a chance, don't get me wrong. If it stays on the feet, I think he has a chance, but I like Makdessi. I'm going to have to pick the kind of the heart pick, the head pick here, the smart pick, and that's going to be John Makdessi. Welterweight division, we have Mike Pyle facing off against Alberto Mina. Mike Pyle, you don't know what kind of guy is going to show up, but especially fighting in home turf in Las Vegas, it's always a fight you need to... especially being on home turf, he seems very, very strong there. He showed that last time against Sean Spencer, but then before that against Colby Covington, he was a little bit up and down. So this is why I think Alberto Mina has a chance. I mean, he's coming off that win over Akiyama, showed some nice striking. I think a lot of people that I follow on Twitter were giving that to Akiyama. It was a close fight. I think I picked Mina for that fight, and I am going to pick him for this fight as well. I think that if Mike Pyle shows up, I think he wins the fight. I'm just not confident picking Mike Pyle. So, like I've said all year, close fights, I'm going to pick the underdog. I believe that Alberto Mina will be the underdog. I could be wrong there, because he is an undefeated fighter, and the bookies and the bookmakers will look at all that. But I just think he's going to have... If he can stop the takedown and kind of get his shots off first in the feet, I think that Alberto Mina can win this fight. I think it's going to be very close. But I'm going to pick Alberto Mina. Next fight, I think, is I really shouldn't say that. I was going to say squash match, but Joseph Duffy against Mitch Clarke. After watching both these guys, I don't see where Mitch Clarke really has an advantage in this fight. I think it's a fight that the UFC kind of gave to Joseph Duffy, having that last fight against Dustin Poirier, which I thought he looked decent in that one. Just Poirier was a class or two above at this minute. In a couple of years, might be different. Mitch Clarke, you only see this guy once a year. I mean, he come off that hard-fought loss to Michael Chiesa, a dangerous guy when it comes to chokes and jiu-jitsu, so you have to be very careful with this guy. I just see Joseph Duffy... I see this being like Joseph Duffy against Jake Lindsay, where it's just a kind of showcase fight for Joe Duffy, and I see Joe Duffy finishing this one early. I can see him going to the body, and then, like he did with Lindsay, coming back up top and planting with a head kick, with a right hook. Something. I just think he's going to put Mitch Clarke to sleep. First round, TKO victory for Joseph Duffy, and I think he could even get a submission if he drops him and drops down for a guillotine or a rear naked choke or something of that ilk. But my pick's going to be Duffy. Very confident in the first round as well. Next up, really good fight, Alan Jouban against Belal Muhammed. I think this is a very close fight. I've seen lots of people online talking about Muhammad doesn't deserve his chance in the UFC. I mean, what the fuck are you smoking? I mean, the guy was the Titan champion there at welterweight. He beat Steve Carl, who's a veteran of the sport. He's undefeated. He deserves his chance. I don't know what you guys are smoking if you're saying this guy doesn't deserve a chance. Jouban beat, who did he beat? It was down in Australia. Brendan O'Reilly. O'Reilly is just not a good fighter, and that was a good matchup for him down there. So, how I see this fight going, Muhammed, I mean, he's been in the championship rounds. He got in the 4th round with Carl last time out. Good striker. Just a decent overall pro. Fights out of Rufus Sport, I believe. The only thing that's really put me off this fight is that Muhammad is a Muslim, and they've just been Ramadan and they've been fasting and stuff like that. It's the only thing that's throwing me off. But he did take this in short notice, so he obviously feels a lot better than, because some people won't fight through that. I mean, I think some of the other fighters don't fight through this kind of period. Khabib's one of them. I think Jouban is there to be got at, and he's lost to good guys, but he hasn't beat the top guys in that welterweight division. I think Muhammad can match up with this guy very well. I'm probably going to end up betting on Belal Muhammad. I am going to pick him here. I'm going to pick him by decision. I think if he can protect his chin, fight smart, I think overall he just outpoint Alan Jouban. But you have to be careful with Jouban because he has got devastating strikes, leg kicks for days, body shots for days. My pick's going to be Muhammad though. It's a kind of heart pick, this one, over the head. But I think Muhammad can do it. I believe in the guy. So I'm going to pick Belal Muhammad via decision. Co-main event of the night, we have Big Country Roy Nelson against Derrick Lewis. I'm kind of going back and forward in this one a wee bit. I think that Derrick Lewis is probably going to be the underdog for this fight if I just remember right looking at the odds there. Roy Nelson is just a tough out for anybody in that division now. He's lost 5 of his last 6 or 7, but the guys he's lost to are top guys. I mean, Stipe Miocic, Alistair Overeem, Josh Barnett, they're top guys in that division, and they're hard to fight against. Mark Hunt, another guy. So Derrick Lewis, do I see him in that upper echelon of the UFC heavyweight division? I don't. And this is where I think Roy Nelson will win this fight. Lewis is on a 3-fight win streak himself. Beat Victor Pesca, Damian Grabowski, and Gabriel Gonzaga. And Gonzaga is deteriorating as a fighter. Grabowski is a guy brought in his UFC debut. He blasted him out there. Pesca I thought was a good win. But what I like about Derrick Lewis, what he's shown in his last few fights, is he's shown that he can get up off his back, which was a main talking point beforehand. But I just can't see him landing the big shot on Roy Nelson in this one. I can't see, even if he knocks him down, that he can finish Roy Nelson. I don't see it, so that's why my pick is going to be Roy Nelson. He's a crafty veteran, so I'm going to pick Roy Nelson via decision. And in the main event of the night, we have Rafael dos Anjos against Eddie Alvarez. Eddie Alvarez, great champion over in Bellator, had some barnstorming fights with Michael Chandler. Came into the UFC, lost to Cerrone. Tough out for a UFC debut, but being a champion of a previous organisation and being a superstar over there, he's going to get the tough fights. A little bit surprised Will Brooks, who I'll speak to in the next card. Never got a bigger opponent, but we'll get into that in the next one. Coming off a couple of really nice wins, a really good win over Anthony Pettis. I think it's a good time to get Anthony Pettis. I think he's a little bit kind of gun shy at the minute, but he controlled that fight from the get-go. Took a couple of kind of body shots, which he needs to watch out for because dos Anjos throws hard to the body, hard leg kicks. That was the one thing I looked for in the Cerrone fight. Cerrone beat that guy up with leg kicks. Rafael dos Anjos did that with Nate Diaz, and he did hit Cerrone with some really nice leg kicks as well. So that's where I can see dos Anjos possibly hurting Alvarez. When you look close at this fight, I just don't see where he can take the fight and be dominant down there, because if he takes dos Anjos down, I think that he's got enough jiu-jitsu to get back to his feet. I think on the feet, this is where it's kind of going to be close, but I still see dos Anjos being the cleaner striker with a crisper kind of footwork, and I just see that's where I see him winning the fight, and I can see him hurting Eddie Alvarez with shots to the body, leg kicks, and then once he hits the bottom there, he's going to go up top and he's going to hit him with something. But you can never write Eddie Alvarez off, but my pick is going to have to be Rafael dos Anjos. I don't feel confident picking Eddie Alvarez at all, so my pick will be Rafael dos Anjos via a submission in round number 3. So that's my picks for UFC Fight Night 90. My first of 3. I'm actually going to film the next one in the next day in the next hour. So these 2 fights will be out tomorrow. I will film UFC 200, and they'll be out, and then there'll be one for the Wednesday night card of Ferguson Chiesa. So that's my fight picks there for UFC Fight Night 90, the start of International Fight Week. I will see you for UFC, the tough finale between Jacek and Gadelha, which is a great fight. I will catch you then. Leave the comments below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Let me know your picks. Take care, and I will see you very, very soon.